Hello, in this lesson I'm going to take you through how to use Metasploit to do a port scan. Now I have a Kali Linux machine running in Oracle VirtualBox and also a Windows 7 machine, which is the target. And I've set the machines to internal NICs within the virtual machine settings, so it's a sandbox, so we're not coming across the physical network. So just okay that, and the first thing to mention is, and I've already ran the scan, so I'll just walk you through how to do this. So the first thing you need to do is, because Kali Linux runs in RAM, every time you shut down or restart Kali Linux, then you lose any settings. So you would lose your IP address. So we need to put in the command sudo if and then the IP address on the network card that we um, want to set. So sudo is short for superuser2, then ifconfig instead of ipconfig because it's Linux, then Ethernet 0 because I only have one adapter. If I have subsequent network adapters, then I would have to set either 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. And the IP address range we're using is 192.168.0, and I'm setting Kali to 100. And the network mask 255.255.255.0. Now, it will ask you for a password, and if you type that password in wrong or make a mistake in this command, then quite often you might assume that the IP address has been set, but in fact it hasn't. So always run ifconfig to check that your IP address has been set properly. And this has caught me out in the past when I've been spent hours trying to get something working and the IP address hasn't been set. So the next thing you do is you type in MSF console, and that'll take a few minutes. And what that does is set up the Metasploit framework console, and it'll run through that. And you can see there's a fancy banner. This banner changes each time. At the moment, it's a rabbit. You can type in banner, and it changes the banner every time. And then the next thing we need to do is type in service PostgreSQL start. And what that does is set up the database. It starts the service for the database, sets it up, and all the vulnerabilities that we can search for. The next one, I can actually search for vulnerabilities in Windows. I can search for vulnerabilities in Linux, FTP vulnerabilities, but we're going to search the database for port scans. So I type in search port scan, and it comes back with what modules it's found that are available. And at the moment, there's 7 here. And the one I'm going to use is this particular one here. Now I could put in use 5, or I could copy and paste this and say use this particular scan here, which is what I've done here. So I put in use, and then I pasted this particular bit here. I could have just put used 5. And it sets up the scanner. You can see it's changed to red there. And I need to set the remote host target machine. So set rhost, remote host, and then the target. And I'm using a Windows 7 machine with the address 99. And then you type in run. And it'll take a couple of minutes, and it comes back and scans the target machine. Now, I've already set my firewall off, and I don't have a lot of ports open, and NetBIOS ports and port 445, HTTPS. And what I've found in the past is Windows, even though you shut down the firewall, if a port is not being used by a service, it will not appear as being open. So just bear that in mind. I could actually look for options, and I can type in options here, and I can delay and use jitter to fool an IDS system by slowing down and making the scan a bit more unpredictable. And there are other things that I can actually do there. So I can scan particular ports or a particular range of ports, etc. So there are some useful switches within there. I'm just going to go back to my Windows 7 machine, and I'm going to enable, if I right click on computer and I go into remote settings, and I'm just going to allow remote desktop through, and what that should do is allow port 3389 to be open, and when I perform that scan again, so I'll go back to my Kali Linux, and if I type in run, what we should see is there should be another port open, which is port 3389. There we go. So remote desktop port 3389. So as I said, if the service isn't running, then the port won't be open, and don't assume all ports are open just because the firewall's not there. But there we go. It's port 3389, which is remote desktop. Okay, so that concludes this particular lesson on port scanning using Metasploit. Thanks for listening.